Vai'cairn, let's see, he is making another thievery check. He rolls a 12 to continue working at this. A 12 is a fail again, and he decides that whatever he's trying to do, disable this or undo some of the mechanisms in it, might be a little too hard for him. And so he quickly looks at it. He can tell that the etchings that he previously noticed on it looks to be some sort of puzzle or a set of runes. So he decides maybe he can just try to figure it out, maybe figure out the right one to activate or what to do with it. He is actually going to spend one of his action points to make an intelligence check. He gets a 7, and that's a fail. He has no idea, so he just randomly picks one of the runes to try to activate it. It's incorrect, and he immediately realizes that the whole circular disc portal that he's working on just resets, and he's going to have to start all over again. Okay. The trap attacks. It rolls a 10. It misses. Again, Vai'cairn's able to dodge out of the way of the flame. He is bloodied, and he knows that he is in some serious danger here. He calls upon the inner rage of the primal spirits that dwell in the world and in his body. He moves closer towards the stone face and enters the rage of the tyrant. He feels the ferocity of some great predator well up from within him, and he lets loose a terrifying shriek. Unfortunately, this is just a trap mechanics made of stone and perhaps magic, so it's not scared of him, but he makes a really powerful attack with his long spear. He rolls a 14. It's not the greatest attack. He just kind of does a glancing blow, but it still does 6 damage, and he seems to kind of like maybe scuff the stone face some. It seems like it might work some, though there is a threat of maybe damaging his spear as he's thrusting it upon this heavy stone face. The trap attacks. It rolls a 24. It hits him. He takes 5 fire damage. He is seriously hurt here. He is going to use his second wind. He gets to spend a healing surge, and he gets +2 to his defenses until the end of his next turn. So he basically takes a moment to catch a breath, get into a defensive stance, and get his mind focused on what's going on here. He is currently raging, so he sets himself to hopefully take out this trap. It attacks. It rolls a 23. It hits him for 6 fire damage. Pretty much puts him back to where he was before he spent his healing surge. He attacks with Recuperating Strike, attempting to invigorate himself and get some temporary hit points. His spear just kind of like chinks off of the stone, doesn't really do much. The trap attacks him. It rolls a 10. He is able to dodge out of the way of the flame. He attacks with Recuperating Strike. He rolls an 18. That is a hit. He deals 12 damage. Since he's raging, the amount by which he is able to invigorate himself is even greater. He feels the strength of perseverance, knowing that he might be able to survive through this. He gains 7 temporary hit points. The trap attacks. It rolls a natural 1. It just kind of like fizzles, and the fire doesn't work so well that time. He attacks again, just trying to see the stone face just simply by the light of the flames that's flickering within its eyes. He rolls an 18. He hits. He deals 12 damage. I'm sorry, he deals 7 damage. He looks like he's starting to put a little bit of damage on this stone statue. He thinks he's making some progress. The trap attacks for 25. That is a hit. Deals 7 fire damage to him. One more hit like that, and he knows he is going to be a goner. His heart is just racing with intensity. He is hanging on the edge of life and death here. He's going to use his Resurgent Strike. He attacks. He rolls a 20. He hits and deals an impressive 16 damage. With a final powerful thrust of his long spear, a crack splits through the left eye socket to the great stone face. The flares in its eyes die down. Vai'cairn, singed all over, slumps into the cool, dark water. His body burns with exhaustion and pain. The chamber is as black as pitch, and there's no indication that these stone slabs have raised.
If this isn't a test to prove myself, then I don't know what is.
Vai'cairn wanted to be back home. He wanted to lie down on a bed of fresh palm leaf and spread soothing aloe on his burns and wounds. Even to sleep here would be something, but he could not. Once the pain subsided, lying in the water would eventually make him shiver as the warmth completely drained from his body into the chilling dampness. And the thought of stretching out on the hard, damp stone of the trap-laden dais did not seem like an alternative either.
Get up.
He mentally commanded himself to get up. He lifted his weary body from the water. He throbbed with pain. He carefully made his way in the dark, trying as he could to not step in the places he knew held the triggers in the stone floor. Finally, his outstretched hand felt the sturdy stone slab that had crushed his torch. He felt around in the water for any remains of it. He was able to recover a small bit, but it wasn't much. A scrap of partially burned cloth, no longer in his hand. It smelled only faintly of oil. Fighting the frustration that set itself upon him, he tried his best to dry out the soaked remnants of his torch. He wrapped it along with the driest bit of that large root that he could get. After several attempts at lighting it, the makeshift torch sputtered to a small yellow-orange flame. It was more a candle than a torch, shedding only a small amount of illumination, but it was something. Vai'cairn knew it wouldn't burn for long, so he had to act fast. He approached the large circular disc with the engravings. He had remembered that when he had stood next to it earlier, he had felt more trigger plates in the ground. Not wanting to test if the fire trap could reactivate, he stood at a different angle, which provided an awkward access to the stone disc. As he had already noticed, the face of the disc was covered in various etchings. When close up, it was plain to see that a multitude of them were in fact protrusions, geometrical stone pieces that functioned similar to buttons. He guessed that a certain sequence could be entered in order to open the disc, or at least raise the stone slabs that sealed the chamber. It was mostly trial and error, for he possessed no knowledge of Hyrosian runes. But without the distraction of fire being shot at him, Vai'cairn could take his time. Much to his relief, working the puzzle-like symbols wasn't entirely too complex, and he figured out the sequence after 3 tries. With a grinding sound, the stone disc rolled aside into a slot within the wall. As it did so, the 3 stone slabs lifted back up into the ceiling. By the looks of it, neither had moved in such a way for a long time. What lay beyond the large disc portal was a small, circular chamber of austere design. Its wall etchings were worn almost completely away. Vai'cairn could just barely make out stone steps rising up out of the water. Again, he was aware that his crude torch would not last for too much longer. Both the stone dais and this new entry seemed of import, and he wanted to check them both. However, the thought of more deadly traps and wards made him not want to keep going. And there were the corridors which led behind the dais as well.